there's a question we have. Can psychedelics help attain self-realization? For those who are not familiar, psychedelics is a system where they have this, you take certain drugs, certain chemicals, a particular substance you take, which alters, which will have a strong effect on the mind. So there are people who do this research, with this few chemical compounds to alter the state of mind. So when they take that particular so-called drugs, the chemical, and we say drug, what we mean is a chemical, the substance. You take that substance, it can, take off your consciousness with reference to your body. That body consciousness will go off. It can happen. So the question is, can we take that to say, because we keep on saying in Vedanta, you have to get rid of your body consciousness. You are not the body, not the mind, not the intellect. Delete all this. So can we use the drug for us to facilitate this? So through that, can we get realization? That's what essentially it means. Answer is no. That is not possible. Straight answer is no. If you want to try, you can try. You are most welcome to do the experimentation. I don't mind. Those who want to do that, you can try that. There is no harm in attempting and trying things. But what you need to recognize is it will not happen. You see, it doesn't work that way. Because essentially there is a difference. See, you will experience something. That I'm not saying you will not get anything. You will get some ideas. But that doesn't mean self-realization or spiritual evolution. These chemicals cannot do that, not possible. Because essentially we need to understand the fundamental definition we have for consciousness. Self, Atman or Brahman. If you are going to be taking consciousness to be the byproduct of the brain chemicals, then correct. Then it will work. But then the question is, does Vedanta say consciousness is the product of your brain? Then it will not. So first thing we need to know is, what is the definition being given? Brain is part of your body. So therefore, anything you do with reference to body is not going to be changing, altering with reference to the subtle. And consciousness is the subtlest dimension of your personality. But however, when you take it, you do experience. Now, you people don't have to go for all those drugs and all that. Don't get stuck with all that, please. You can even go to, pub, take few rounds. Vodka would be more than enough for you to try. I'm not recommending, please. Okay. I'm not saying people try all that. I'm not saying that. For this purpose, you don't have to go there. You drink that, automatically it alters your things. You are not becoming conscious. You are becoming unconscious. Now, self-realization is you become more conscious. You become more alert. You are more available to be transacted with the world. That's called awareness. Now, these substances knock you off from the world. Now, people have tried that. It's not that they have not attempted, they have tried it. They have tried, and it's a total failure. See. Now when you take it, what is happening? All that is happening is, I'm sitting here, there is a window, and I can see through that window what's happening in the world outside. I can see my neighbor's window from here. I can see their kitchen also. Where I can see their kitchen. Now, the moment I put a screen, I am here, the kitchen is all available, that person is standing there. Okay. Now, he was able to see me, I'm able to see him. Now, the moment I put a screen, what happens? My contact with him is clipped off. Can I say he doesn't exist? Why? Because the screen is put. Can I say I remove the screen, therefore he is? That is what your body is. Remember, your body is the window through which you reach to the world. When the window gets closed, you can't reach to the world. That screen is the chemicals. You can manipulate with those chemicals. But that doesn't make you or doesn't define you. Your ability to transact with the world can be affected. That's what happens when you take any chemicals. For example, you take alcohol. What happens to he doesn't become conscious. Actually, he becomes unconscious. And these drugs don't make you more conscious. These drugs put you in a different world altogether. You forget this. You forgetting this doesn't mean anything. Because once the virium of that particular drug reduces, the impact of that reduces in your brain, in your bloodstream, you come back to is what? You are the same person. No difference at all. So always, if you want to be in that state of self-realization, what you have to do, sir? Permanently have that injected in your blood. Keep on taking the pills. There is a movies also come. I remember to have seen a movie where the fellow takes one tablet. It takes. Suddenly the brain starts functioning. That lady, and she merges with the universe. Ella fiction. Suddenly, she can understand about entire universe, and she collects the whole universe knowledge in one pen drive and she gives. Finally, those who want to see, there's a movie called Lucy. You can see that. Very interesting movie. She will look at people, she can understand things. She can control everything. She can do all that. I wish the director got that, drug with him. It's a fiction, please. There's no reality to it. These things is not helping you to evolve spiritually. Your evolution, you don't become a better human. You can't be experiencing universal love. You can't be experiencing, knowledge. You don't have all that. You can talk about things nobody can understand. It equals to what? Madness. It will not. But the scientists are all working because the scientist is standing in that house. The only way he can contact me is through the window. There is no other way. Now, how much ever he has an idea about my house, even if my entire window is opened, he can see through. He can see only a portion of my house. He can't see the entire house. Not possible. Through the window. But through the window, you can get a peep. You can get an idea. You can have some glimpse. You may get it. So the scientists attempting to see that consciousness through brain, through body, is exactly like a person attempting to understand you through the window. Understand your house through the window. It's not possible. If I close that window, if I put a screen, what happens? Nothing. You can't have any idea. So all these chemicals, what it does is, it opens a window little more. The screen is shifted a little. For most of us, the screen is fully closed. Sometimes we leave it open a little. Through chemicals, we can open it little more, depending upon the intensity of that chemical. You see, I'm not saying that chemical is going to make you dependent and you get addicted. That's not what my point is. I'm not talking about all that. You see, even if you say that this is a non-addictive one, but still, it is not going to help you get that realization. It is not possible. So essentially, science attempting to probe into consciousness is redundant. Exactly like a mathematician attempting to use all his mathematical formulas to understand the painting of a painter. Da Vinci's painting is there. Madonna's painting, I go and see. Using mathematical integral calculus and differential calculus and vectors and this and that, with all that, I'm going to understand the beauty of that painting. What will you call that man? With my knowledge of economics, I'm going to understand nuclear physics. He is a Nobel laureate in economics. Can you use that here? It's a different field. It's a different subject. You have no jurisdiction to get into that. Similarly, consciousness is the sphere of inquiry, is the field of inquiry of the subtle intellect. This is not the field of inquiry of the gross intellect. Very fundamental one, we have studied this. The drug is coming from where? The analysis is done where? In the world. By the very definition, it is belonging to gross intellect. Gross intellect cannot probe. That's not the field. It's as simple as that's the advantage of studying, gaining this basics. Once you get established in the basics, you don't fall for all that. You may say, Ishwaran, are you correct, or all these great scientists are correct? I say that is up to you to decide. I am not saying, I am correct and they are wrong, or they are right and I am wrong. That is not my point. The point is there are two different fields of inquiry. You can't mix it up. About few centuries back, those people have been making one mistake in the older generation, which is a blunder. What is a blunder? Any discovery of science, any advancement of scientific knowledge was measured taking the declarations of religion as the reference point. If the religious scriptures were to say one thing and the scientific discovery were to say something else, if there is a clash, weighing scale is what? This is to be deleted. This had to toe in line with this. Science had to toe in line with the declarations of the scriptures. If that is wrong, then what are we doing today? We are doing exactly opposite. What is opposite? We wanted to validate all the declarations of the scriptures in the light of science. If scientific discoveries needs to be validated in the light of scriptures, if that is wrong, then my question is, I'm just leaving it for you to conclude. If that is wrong, if all of us were to say, no, that is wrong, sir, you can't do that, that's wrong. What those people did that day was wrong. If that is wrong, then on what basis we have the right to claim that I'm going to validate this in the reverse now? Pendulum has swung from one extreme to another extreme. That's it. Now we will call it as this is correct. Why? Because we are now. Obviously, we can't be wrong. The past can be wrong, the future can be wrong, but the present generation cannot be wrong. Whatever we are saying, whatever we are doing, whatever we are thinking, this is perfectly correct. That is the essential question you have to ask. Forget about all this discoveries and this, that, and all those things. Essentially, self-realization is the field of who? This belongs to which subject? This is a subject of religion. This is a subject of spirituality. This is the subject of philosophy. Now, why are you bringing in science here? Science cannot be probing here. Exactly like economics cannot probe into painting. Mathematics cannot be probing into another subject. If that is correct, then my point is, why bring in all this? The waste of time. I'm not against it. Those who want to try can try. If you want to experiment it and find out, it's there always. I don't say no. Because world is not going to go based on my opinions. I can carry my own opinion. Who is going to follow? I can't, ask my daughter to follow my opinion. Now, where you are going to be asking the whole world to be following your idea? So, it's a mythical belief. But if you ask me, theoretically, is it possible, sir? Can we get realization through this? Not possible. It will not work. Why? Because of the fundamental rule that we have studied already. Gross cannot control the subtle. Remember this. When we say control the subtle, this is where we left in the last class. I'm just continuing from where we have left now. In the study of the 5 koshas, the 5 principles, 5 layers of human personality, the grossest one is the Annamaya kosha, food sheath, referred as food sheath. That's the topmost layer. The next one is the vital air sheath, a Pranamaya kosha. Then you have Manomaya kosha, mental sheath. Subtler than that is Vijnanamaya kosha, meaning intellectual sheath. Subtler than that is Anandamaya kosha, bliss sheath. Beyond that lies the symbol Om, represents the self. So if you want to get to that, you have to cross all this. In crossing, first one you encounter is Annamaya kosha. That's why that comes first. That's all. It's, but in terms of understanding, we need to understand Annamaya kosha is smaller than Prana. Prana is far more encompassing. Then you have pervasiveness of that is much more. It can pervase in a bigger area. Like body has a limitation, but your pranas have more than that. Then we have to go in terms of this Manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha means mental sheath. Mental sheath means mind, what we call as mind. We have studied that already. Mind means your desires, likes and dislikes, emotions, all put to impulses, all put together is called mind, mental sheet. And this mental sheet has its own properties, its own implications, its own role to play. That mental sheet controls the prana, in turn controls the body. Annamaya kosha is the body. Then we have beyond that is the intellectual sheet, Vijnanamaya kosha, intellect. In our sense, we just use the word intellect. Beyond the intellect is the vasanas which we have seen. When those vasanas were to exist in its pure form, that unmanifest state is called bliss. It is called as bliss. Why that is referred as a bliss sheet is not because you will be experiencing the positive joy of realization. The negative disturbances of your mind and intellect will not be there. That agitations will not be there. That state of no agitation is what is referred as bliss here. So don't take it as your experience. A lot of people have taken, that bliss sheet to be that reference of Atman. No, that is not Atman. Atman exists beyond that. But there is a state, that is what is referred as deep sleep. You go to sleep without any dreams when you experience sleep. That is called a deep sleep state. Sleeping without dreams. Deep sleep. That state is what is referred as bliss sheath. Anandamaya kosha. What is that, sir? I had a sound sleep. When you claim, I had a sound sleep, then others in the room were to say sound sleep, that's a different sound. Okay. When you wake up and say, I had a sound sleep, that is what I'm referring to. He sleeps with sound, that's a different sound. Okay. Sound sleep, that means what? No dreams. So there is no waking, there is no dream, nothing. It is a state of what? Nothingness. That state of nothing, no thoughts, no desires, no emotions, no feelings, nothing is experienced. That state is referred as bliss. You are so disturbed, so disturbed. My dear friend passed away. I cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. I go to sleep. In that sleep, where is the sadness of the loss of my friend? It's not there. That's the bliss one. No agitation, no sorrow, no desires, no disturbances, no agitations. That state is referred as Anandamaya kosha. There, what exists there, sir? It is nothing. Don't worry, we will analyze this in detail in the coming chapters. So right now we don't have to worry about it. All that you need to know is what we call earlier, what we have studied as vasanas. Those vasanas were to be standing in its pure form, without manifestation. That state is referred as bliss sheath. Why we call it as bliss sheath? Why that name was given? Bliss, because no agitations there. Since there is no agitations, it is referred as bliss. That's about it. But don't take it as a positive joy of realization. That is different. Okay, so that state is a different state. Now here what we need to understand is the hierarchy. In that hierarchy, we found one problem. One problem we had encountered. That is, sir, when I start working on my Annamaya kosha, when I do make a perfection, when I start working on that exercise and do things to keep my body fit, the fit body doesn't mean fit pranas. The pranas will get fit automatic. Not necessarily. Whereas when you have the pranas appropriately functioning, your body will be functioning appropriately, automatic that is. Your body functions will start doing to its optimal, automatic. Whereas a converse doesn't happen, which we can see it from our own experience. We don't require any theoretical explanation for this. Your experience will be validating this. You don't need outsider to come and tell you this. Right. Now comes the catch. Suppose if I manipulate or I moderate or I control the functions of the prana, will it automatically modify my mind? Which means go back to the basics. What is manomaya kosha? What is mind? Seat of emotions, desires, likes and dislikes. Does it mean I will start liking things? Does it mean I will start disliking certain things? Automatic? You want your child to have Karela, right? What you have to do now, sir? Do pranayama. Automatically, you will start liking Karela. Does it happen? Through this, can you generate certain emotions? Through that, can you generate certain desires? So all that you have to do will be what? Now you have to get into self-realization. I want to develop a desire for self-realization, let's say. Whether it is possible and all, we don't care. I say develop the desire for self-realization. What you have to do now? Start doing that with reference to your pranayama. Do pranayama. Through pranayama practices, what will happen? You will start strengthening your desire for Vedanta, desire for mathematics. I want to study mathematics. This is what we call as this cannot control that. What needs to be developed cannot be developed. Certain attitudes, certain qualities that you want to cultivate, you cannot cultivate through the practice of pranayama. You need to work on those emotions directly. But what is interesting is when you work on those emotions and when those emotions and those attitudes and those preferences were set, we do see the pranas aligning themselves to that. Reverse does happen. When we say alignment, we are not referring to it gets stronger. No. Anything needs to get strengthened, you have to work on that part directly. You cannot say, I have developed a universal love to people. Does that mean automatically my body will be able to lift a 100 kg? Weightlifting. Can I go for weightlifting, sir? You cannot go for weightlifting. But at the same time, we have seen people doing some extraordinary feats by sheer control on the mind. What is it? The lady who gets scared of a dog barking. A dog barks, she gets freezes. When that same woman, that same lady were to see a lion pouncing about to attack on her child, where she is, what she will be doing? She gets the strength from where that comes. That comes, she goes ahead of the child and she even fights with the tiger, the lion. She can do that. She gets that strength. From where she gets that strength? The love that she has to the child. My child. You see, that's the power of emotion. This happens, but the converse doesn't happen. You have a powerful body doesn't mean you will have pure mind. Your physiological functions, your digestive system is fantastically functioning. Your excretion is happening perfect. All that is happening. So what if this is all functioning appropriately, does it mean you can develop that, sir? Doesn't happen. But at the same time, we do see this. When I am doing pranayama, sir, when I do this breathing exercise, the agitations that I had experienced before I do a pranayama, it subsides. Correct? This also our experience. Now nobody can have any contrary opinion here. It does happen. Why this is happening, sir? That's where Vedanta says, dear friends, body is here and mind is there. This body and the mind needs to be linked. There has to be a link establishing. There has to be a bridge. The bridge that is connecting the gross physical body to this mind is the prana. Like we have the fuse in the house. The fuse thread is there. It's a fine thread linking what? The electricity that is sent by the board, EB, to your house. There is a thing there. Similarly, there is a link happening between the mind and intellect and the body. What is connecting is these two things. Since it is connecting the two, obviously one foot is on the body, other foot of the prana is in the mind. Right? I hope you're all with me. The bridge means the bridge has to have link where? This side as well as this side. Both sides it has to be touching. Only then the link is complete. That is why in our tradition we say, when a man dies, we say, the pranas are gone. What has happened, sir? The de-link happened. Body is there. His subtle body is also there. But the problem is what? That subtle body, to be housed in this body, there has to be a link. The linking thread is the prana, the breath. Anything happens here will have an impact. This side, also that side. But that impact is not going to be total. It is a small impact. At best it can do is what? It's not going to be touching that side of the city. Like they say, Niagara Falls, if you go, they say, this side is Canada, that side is US. It falls in between. But the angle, the vision you get, the best sight you have is only from Canada side, not from US side. The US side, you can't see anything. So that's why people have to come from there to here. But it has to be touching. That bridge has to touch the land portion of Canada. Also, it has to touch the land portion of US. How much it will touch? It is not going to be touching the entire, all the nooks and corners of Canada are not nooks and corners of this. It touches in few places. You see, similarly, the subtle body is touched by the pranas. To what parts, sir? Only to the mind part, that also only a small area. What is that area? Any agitations that is experienced by the body because of the mental agitations, through this regulation of the prana, you can subside it temporarily for a period of time. That's about it. You can't do permanently. You can't transform the mind. Through pranayama, you cannot be having a transformation for the mind. Definitely, through pranayama, you cannot be controlling the vijnanamaya kosha, which is another dimension, actually. So, what's the equation? The equation is what is controlling what? Controlling in the sense, every part will have an impact. Remember, even body has an impact on prana. The prana has an impact on mind. Also, body has an impact on mind also. You can't say body doesn't have any impact on the mind, because it's all one unit. You see, it has an impact. It's not that it doesn't have an impact. What we need to recognize is, when we say gross and subtle, this cannot be transforming the other aspect. Whereas the transformation possibility is there when you come reverse order. If your thoughts were clear, your emotions gets purified. Purer the emotions, prana's functioning can happen appropriately. When the prana's functioning were appropriate, body is healthy, relatively speaking. That doesn't mean immediately can I go and run along with Usain Bolt. That will not happen. Remember, okay. Immediately we will ask this question. Okay, that means what? So once this happened. No, what we are referring to is transformation. Can the transformation happen? Will not. Each area needs to be worked independently. You want to strengthen your body, you have to exercise. There is no other way. If you have not exercised, your muscles get weaker and weaker and weaker, it dies. That's why in old age, there is a lot of problems we encounter. Why? Because muscles are getting weaker. You're not exercising those muscles. That's all. Now, you can't say, I'll do pranayama and make my muscles stronger. That will not happen. Right? Each unit you take as an independent unit. Work on those things independently. Forget about, will this automatically transform there, sir? Perfection here, will it percolate to the other? In the reverse, it will never happen. In the other way, possible. Percolation can happen from the intellect, from the vasana to the intellect, through to the mind, to the prana, to the body. This percolation is possible. But the reverse percolation is impossible. Why? This is subtle. How do you define such subtlety, sir? Subtlety is defined fundamentally through this idea of pervasiveness. Which is more pervasive? That is subtle. That's why I said that diagram that you see will give a reverse opinion to you. But actually it's the other way around. The smaller circle are more pervasive than the bigger circles there in the diagram. Annamaya kosha will appear as this. Why that is given there is you encounter that first. Therefore we have given it. Remember, pervasiveness is much more. Your body pervades only this. Your prana has a bigger pervasiveness. Your mind pervades more than that. Sitting at your house, you can start thinking, you can love your son who is thousands of miles away from you. Isn't it? You can hate a person also. You can love a person, you can hate a person. It doesn't make any difference, isn't it? That's possible. Why? Mind is far more pervasive. But mind also has a limitation. What is the limitation of the mind? Mind can go into the realms of the known. To like or to dislike, you should know it. Only after knowing something, you can have a liking for it or you can have a dislike for it. That which is not known to you, you can never have a like or a dislike for it. Your intellect is that which probes beyond that known, probes into that unknown, and explores that unknown, converts that unknown to the known. And then mind starts developing a liking for it or a dislike for it. Therefore, intellect is subtler than the mind. Because mind can operate only known. Unknown things you cannot, not possible. A simple thing you take as to love someone or to hate someone, you should know that person. When you don't know the person, can you love or hate? When you don't know something, can you like? Can you have a dislike for it? You can neither have a liking for it nor have a disliking for it. But some dimensions needs to be probed. That probing into that unknown. Inquiry is what intellect is. Intellect inquires into which realms are unknown. In unknown, it inquires and makes it to known. Once it has made to known to the intellect, mind starts developing a liking for it or a dislike for it. Or it can become indifferent also towards it. I'm not talking about it because emotions can be all three. You can have a love for it, or you can hate it, or you can become indifferent also towards it. But all this is possible only with this is. Therefore, which is more pervasive? Intellect is far more pervasive than this. Vasanas are subtler than the intellect. Why? Because Vasanas exist in the dream, Vasanas exist in waking, but Vasanas exist in deep sleep, but there is no intellect in deep sleep. Sound sleep, when you say, what was there? Nothing. It is nothing. It's emptiness. In that emptiness, in that nothingness, there is intellect. Because intellect essentially means what? Discrimination. Discrimination means what? Minimum requirement is 2. In nothingness, there are 2. There is no 2. Since there is no 2 there, in deep sleep, there is no intellect. But vasanas exist there. So vasanas exist there, vasana exists here, vasana exists in manomaya kosha, vasana exists in prana, exists here. Therefore, vasanas are far more pervasive than this. Therefore, vasanas are subtler. Therefore, anandamaya kosha is subtler. Then comes that state of realization. When you realize the self, even vasanas go away. The self exists. Self stands without vasanas. Therefore, self is subtler than the vasanas. Therefore, the self is subtler than the anandamaya kosha. The subtlest dimension of your personality is the self. And self is subtlest means the most pervasive one. And there is nothing more pervasive than the self. Therefore, the self is referred as all-pervading. You're all with me? How do you say self is all-pervading? All-pervading. What do you mean by that? You project it and say. It's not just a simple, statement. Somebody simply saying, something. There is a logic for it. Body is pervasive. Beyond the pervasiveness of the body, pranas are more pervasive than the body. Mind is more pervasive than the prana, which means understood is body also. Right. Then intellect is more pervasive than the mind, means intellect pervades the mind also. Thereby, it pervades the prana also, it pervades the body also. Vasanas more pervasive means it pervades intellect, mind, prana, body. Self is more pervasive than vasanas. Means it pervades the vasanas, it pervades the intellect, mind, prana, body. Therefore, the self is known as all pervading. This Panchakoshas, the same concept is presented to us in a different way, in a different angle. Another way of studying the same human personality is the three bodies: Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. Sthula Sharira means body, gross body. One. Then Sukshma Sharira means subtle body. Then Karana Sharira, causal body. So we have three bodies: gross body, subtle body, causal body. The body is taken by the self. The self stands beyond that. So me, self, want to go out. I need this body. Like if I have to transact with the world, I need a dress. You see, same way, the self expresses, as it were. It has to express means it has to manifest only with the bodies. Without the body, it cannot. It needs the body. What sort of body needed, sir? Gross body needed, subtle body needed, causal body needed. What is gross body made up of? How that comes, from where it comes, we will see later on. We are not discussing that part right now. All that he is presenting in this chapter is what all the different ways in which human composition is presented to us. All these words we should get familiar with, which would be facilitating us to understand the other aspects, subtler dimensions when we go for the study. Right? There's no philosophy here. I told you this in the beginning itself. In this chapter, no philosophy. This chapter is only study of anatomy. That's it. We are not philosophizing. Using these ideas, we will extract philosophies, which will come in the subsequent chapters. When those ideas were getting extracted, you should be familiar with the terms. So here when we say gross body, what do you mean by gross body, sir? So whenever we use in the future gross body, immediately you should be able to connect. What is gross body? Gross body means Annamaya Kosha. That is gross body. Right. Subtle body means what, sir? Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha is the subtle body. Okay. Annamaya Kosha is the body. That is the gross body. Then you have subtle body means mind and intellect. Causal body means the bliss sheath. Anandamaya Kosha means vasanas. Now we have this problem. Ishwaran, one more thing is missed out here. Panchakoshas you have accounted for 4. The 5th one you missed out. What is that, sir? That is where you say this pranamaya kosha, 50% of the pranamaya kosha belongs to the gross body, 50% of the pranamaya kosha belongs to the subtle body. So therefore, gross body 1.5, subtle body 2.5, causal body 1. So gross body means your physical body plus the grosser aspect of the prana. Now, don't worry about what is the gross aspect of prana, subtle aspect of prana, and all that. That you will study later. You know, deeper studies when we go, you can understand. As of now, what you need to know is there are two aspects to it. Why there are two aspects to it? Because it is the prana that is linking the physical body to the mind. Otherwise, there is no connection. These two will be standing independent. This mind and intellect doesn't require any connection because they both those two fellows are buddies. They go together always because both are thoughts. So there is no problem. There is no need for somebody to come and establish a link between mind and intellect. Mind and intellect doesn't require a link. Okay. Then what about intellect linking with Vasanas Ishwaran? There also there is no need of a linking because it is Vasanas that is expressing itself as mind and intellect. So since it is the Vasana that is expressing, it's the same thing. Only difference is what? Manifested and manifested. That's about it. Virat Kohli is a batsman. He is a cricketer. Correct. When he is a batsman, yeah, he is a cricketer, correct. When he is a batsman, when he is batting only, he is a batsman. Right? When he is fielding, what is he? When he is bowling, what do you call him? When he is bowling, he is a bowler. When he is fielding, he is a fielder. When he is batting, he is a batsman. We should say batter. I don't know why they call it as, fielding na fielder. Batting na batsman na. Similarly, Vasana stands when it manifests in a discriminative way, it is called as intellect. This indiscriminative way, it is called as mind, thoughts. Discriminator thoughts, indiscriminator thoughts. But from where those thoughts comes at? From Vasanas only. So since Vasanas is what is expressing, there is no necessity for a link between the two. Whereas all these things are all subtle. All this put together is like a software. All these softwares were to be operating on that thing, there has to be a link. Something should be linking the two. And that link has to be happening, and this body should be established should have the capacity to get linked with the world also. My body is there, my body should be able to connect to the world, right? Something should be linking, no? What is going to be doing all that is where the 5 elements come into picture. The 5 elements' extraction is the prana. Takes. So the pranas were divided into 10 categories. Gross, subtle, gross, subtle, gross, subtle, gross, subtle. Gross, subtle, gross, subtle, gross, subtle. So the grosser dimension of the prana will be included along with the gross body. One category. Along with the physical body plus gross aspect of the one factor, one dimension of the prana becomes gross body. So, strictly speaking, whenever we use the word physical body, we refer to what? Only Annamaya Kosha. Whenever we use the word gross body, Annamaya Kosha plus half of prana. So physical body is different from gross body. Remember that. When you are alive, we call you gross body. When you die, that is referred as physical body. These terms are to be very, very, strict, in a very strict. Sometimes loosely we'll use words. Okay, I'm not referring to that. I'm saying when you are seriously studying a subject, you should get your terms very clear. Gross body means this. Then comes subtle body. Subtle body is what? Half of prana, the subtler dimension of prana, plus manomaya kosha, plus vijnanamaya kosha, put together is called subtle body. Then comes the causal body, karana sharira. It is known as karana sharira. Why? Because it is that vasanas becomes the cause for the presence of the subtle body and gross body. It is the cause of the subtle and causal body. It is subtle and gross body. Therefore, it is called as causal body. Karana sharira. What is karana sharira? Anandamaya kosha. What is an anandamaya kosha? Vasanas in an unmanifested state. When that vasana manifests, it manifests as what? Subtle body and gross body. Now, this is one dimension of the study. I'll give you details in the next class, but right now you can understand only this much. The 5 koshas are there. In that, one is gross, subtle. Second one is how we decided which is gross and which is subtle. 2 factors we have taken into account. What is controlling what and what is more pervasive than the other. Based on these 2 factors, we say this is gross, this is subtle. Then the same panchakoshas were presented to us in another language also, another way. Another way of presentation is the 3 sharira, 3 bodies. Gross body, subtle body, causal body. This causal body, Anandamaya kosha, vasanas, in its own form is referred as deep sleep. Then the vasanas expressing up to the subtle body becomes dream. So a dream state, what is functioning? What is functioning in the dream state is your subtle body keeps functioning. Subtle body functioning means what? Manas is functioning, buddhi is functioning, and subtler aspect of the prana functioning. That also is there. You are aware of all the functionings of those things. Gross body, all the aspects of your vasanas fully manifest, which is called as waking state of consciousness. Waking state means gross body functioning. Dream state means subtle body functioning. When we say subtle body functioning, understood is causal body is backing it. That is understood. Deep sleep state is only causal body functioning. Only causal body you put on. That means this. Like when you go for, an army officer, when he puts on his uniform, he is ready to go to office. We understand that. Right? When he comes with his shorts and the shoes and a track, this t-shirt with the tennis racket, we understand what? He is ready to go to the club. That's all. He will not go to the club in his full uniform. When he comes in pajamas, what is it? Understood. He is going to sleep. That's all. It's the understanding. Right? Same way, When you put on only the causal body, you are in deep sleep state. You put on the subtle body, means you are in dream state. You put on the gross body, you are in waking state. This is how the three states come into existence. So the five koshas, the three bodies, and the three states of consciousness that we experience. Basic understanding only. Detailed study is coming later on, in the subsequent chapter. So don't worry about it. Right now, just get that idea. Since we are studying this, it's better you know now itself. That's why he adds that also. Waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. So deep sleeper means only causal body functioning. You are a deep sleeper. Subtle body functioning, you are a dreamer. Gross body functioning, you are a waker. That's all. Who is a waker, sir? Waker means gross body. Dream, subtle body. Dreamer, subtle body functioning. Deep sleeper, causal body functioning. This is all anatomy. You have to just memorize it. There is no option. Don't try to do anything else. You just have to get this ideas memorized. Keep this things in your, it's like, basic formulas we study in mathematics. You got to memorize those formulas. There's nothing you can do. Of course, there is a derivation. How each formula was, there is a derivation for each formula itself. But now, right now, you don't have to go into the derivation. Like one of the aspects we saw today's class. How are we saying the self is all pervading? What is the derivation for it? Is it just a claim? We just say it is all pervading. No, there is a reason for saying it is all pervading. There is a logic for it. Like that, for each one, there is a derivation. Now, few things we will see here and there. Other things will come as we start exploring that. Okay, so right now, this much you can remember in today's class. More we will see in the next class. Thank you.